In the small Bosnian village, Medjugorje, 6 people have allegedly been receiving messages from the Virgin Mary since 1981. Each of the 6 visionaries received 10 secrets. However, what's most puzzling is that only one of those secrets has been revealed to the world so far.
But not everyone finds these visionaries to be credible. Skeptics say that there is not enough evidence to prove that the visions of Medjugorje are in fact of the Virgin Mary.
In the case of Medjugorje, the Catholic Church has an authorized devotion to Our Lady of Medjugorje as of yet.
The believers of the Marian Apparitions faithfully support the 6 visionaries and continue to anticipate messages from the Blessed Mother.
Not a single one of them has put on any airs over the fact that Mary seems to be appearing to them. And in fact, they display an extraordinary and exemplary piety. Everybody agrees about that. Where people do disagree is on the exact nature of what these apparitions entail.
Many people have had a fruitful spiritual experience from there. So perhaps one day, the Holy See may indeed say that Mary can be recognized and definitively has appeared in Medjugorje. However, until that time, nothing official can be said by the Church.
The authenticity of the Medjugorje claims is debatable. However, in Mexico City, the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe is one of the most widely visited shrines in the world. Displayed there is the fabric image that Our Lady left behind.
In Mexico, a common man named Juan Diego was on his way to church when he heard the voice of a young girl.
Juan Diego was indigenous to the area. He was a local man who was very, very poor. He was very poor. He was very illiterate, as many people were at the time. And he had this apparition of Our Lady come to him.
While walking along the Tepeyac Hill on his way to work, he had an encounter with a woman. And this woman he didn't immediately recognize, but she just sort of appeared out of nowhere.
And she spoke to him in the language that he understood in that sense. It wasn't formalized Spanish, it wasn't any of the European languages. And she revealed herself to him.
That voice belonged to Our Lady of Guadalupe. She told Juan that she wanted a church built on the spot where they were standing and instructed him to place a request with the bishop. He followed Our Lady's orders, but his request was denied.
Bishop Zumarraga, who was Juan Diego's bishop at the time, doesn't believe him, and so asks for some evidence. Is this Marian apparition actually true?
The bishop stated that he needed some sort of sign that building a church was the request of the Virgin Mary. Juan Diego quickly returned to the spot where he was met by Our Lady and explained what had happened.
Some days later, he's on his way to visit a sick uncle. And again, the woman appears, looking very much the same way, but this time with a cloak around her shoulders, something called a tolmek. And when she opened the cloak, or the tolmek, there spilled out roses. And she said to Juan Diego, "Gather up these roses and present them to the bishop."
He saw that roses were hiding a miraculous image of Our Lady of Guadalupe and finally acknowledged that Juan's request to build a church had come from the Mother of Christ. The chapel was built and the image left by Our Lady of Guadalupe is still widely viewed by people across the world.
Miracles at Guadalupe and mysterious secrets have us all captivated. But awe of such matters seem minute in comparison to our next apparition. When we return, we'll see how a 14-year-old girl changed the world forever after a visit from Our Lady of Lourdes. The apparition known as Our Lady of Lourdes began in February 1858, when Bernadette was first approached by Mary at the grotto. At first, the lady appeared to be an evil spirit to the teenager, but she quickly realized that this was not the case. Between February 11th and July 16th, this apparition occurred 18 times. On the third time, Mary spoke. She promised that she would bring Bernadette happiness in her life to come and asked that she would have the goodness to return to the grotto for 15 days. She did.
Our Lady speaks to her, revealing herself to young Bernadette, a message of love, of mercy, of care, but it's always a message of tender motherly love, and that's ultimately the message of healing, of love, of peace that comes from Our Lady of Lourdes.
She had an encounter with a lady. She doesn't call her Mary, she doesn't call her the Blessed Virgin, she's simply the lady. And this is how Bernadette refers to Mary, and does so consistently throughout the investigation. This lady appeared to her 18 times. She was not seen by anyone except Bernadette. Bernadette had a considerable following of the local townspeople as word spread that these visions were taking place, and they would follow her at all hours of the day from her home to the spot where eventually the famous grotto emerged. Toward the end of the apparitions, after so much insistence and so much pressure that was put on Bernadette, Bernadette finally asked her, "Who are you?" And after a long series of hesitations, the lady finally lets her know. And she says, "I am the Immaculate Conception."
This had happened around the same time that the Immaculate Conception was formally declared an infallible dogma of our church. So it was a beautiful connection at the same time to what was going on theologically in the church, what's happening in the spiritual life of this one devoted, fantastically devoted young lady.
Bernadette dutifully conveyed to the local bishop, and realizing that this young girl, terribly undereducated, from peasant stock, realizing she had no theological sophistication, and presenting this title, Immaculate Conception, as a title of Mary, seemed to be so beyond her kin that, in fact, he believed her, finally.
Bernadette was guided towards a muddy waterhole and asked to drink from it. With no questions asked, she did just that. The very next day, a spring of clean water ran from the hole. Since then, many miracles have been reported in connection to the flowing water.
Countless people who have gone to Lourdes who have been healed, perhaps physically, but also perhaps psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Today, there's about 100 confirmed inexplicable cases, and of those, there have been scores, literally scores, of miraculous cases.
We're always looking for the crutches, we're looking for all these other things that are left behind, and it's a beautiful image when we see the Lourdes grotto. But ultimately, people that have been healed by true devotion to Saint Bernadette, true devotion to Our Lady of Lourdes, spiritually, perhaps that's as important as the physical healing that can be offered at that time.
On this episode, we've explored the many miracles and messages our Blessed Mother has delivered, and recanted the vicious but powerful images received by 3 brave children. However, with so many of her precious secrets still withheld from our world, it's no wonder that Marian Apparitions remains one of the most infamous mysteries of the Church.